What's going on, YouTube? Earth Power here with a very special guest today, joining us for his first time on this channel, but a lot of you may know from the community. Xboom 3000 on IDC runs the YouTube channel, which you can see down below. He is also linked down below at Duel Masters Tolk. Welcome to the channel, friend.
Yeah, thank you. Hello.
So, we are going to hop into the match today, the final top eight of Fire Nature Rush versus Light Water Dark Hydro Hurricane. I really wanted to get X Boom in here for this match, as well as he will be with us next week for the Light Water, or excuse me. Oh, I cannot say color names appropriately ever. Water Fire Rush versus Water Fire Nature Tempo. Two decks that when I'm going through IDC and the Instagrams, I pull a lot of the inspiration from you, sir. You're my guy when it comes to Rush and Tempo. These decks have been very near and dear to my heart throughout even the beginning of Duel Masters. I took a water or a light fire Rush to Continentals in 2006. So been a Rush player my whole life, and following you for content for decks and seeing how well you've been doing in the IDC tournaments. You were the natural choice to get in here for these games.
Yeah, with Fire Nature Rush, it's been like the one deck that has brought me the most success in the IDC, so it's always has a place in my heart from nowadays, now on.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, and yeah,
I'm
poison.
rooting for it.
Yes, so it's up against a wall today. We'll say that much. So let's jump right in to the match. Spencer on the left playing Hydro Hurricane, getting behind it. Him and Christian basically working together to see if they can pilot that deck correctly. Because again, as we mentioned in the top 16, this was kind of our first go with Hydro Hurricane. We had never really featured it much on the channel. It was a sleeper card for us. We never put a lot of stock in the card itself, and then coming back into this game at the start of the year and realizing that Hydro Hurricane ranks very highly for you guys in IDC. So we felt like it was time to finally put that together and put that Marino control contraption that we brought to season one to rest.
Yeah, the Hydro Hurricane is very versatile deck, so it has like not really any bad matchups per se, so it can like win against every deck. And
Yeah,
especially against FNRUS, it's like a bit favored. I think it's like 60-40, maybe something like that. At least the versions we are seeing right now.
Yeah, you and I talked about that a little bit in chat that I think most matchups and Duel Masters in general tend to fall into that 60-40 category or somewhere in between, whether it's 55-45, 50-50. But, it's hard to say that most decks have a just an outright great matchup where it's more than that 60-40 in either direction. But I do agree. I think Hydro Hurricane runs more blockers than any of the other decks we've run to this point in either of these bracket tournaments, and it leans on them pretty heavily, especially being able to load a board, go wide with blockers versus wide with little things. But starting off the game strong with Sniper Mosquito here.
Yeah, Sniper doesn't really care about the Marrow, so it's interesting to see. Loading the Volcanic Arrows, okay, so that's
Yeah,
interesting because that's one of the really key cards. And taking it back there,
yeah.
okay,
So
yeah,
I think
interesting.
so Ganta was the obvious play here
Yeah,
on two for sure. My thought process here, Volcano, he can play La Giga this turn. It is or Belix, which is his best play, and Belix
Felix would be bad
Belix would
because there's
right.
speed.
Right, Belix, and when you say best play, when his best play is not a great play, Ganta doesn't care about that. So I essentially get another turn, hopefully, especially if Lyre Giga is the play instead, to where Sniper Mosquito can grab back that volcanic arrows need be. But I think I'm about to load the board again with another Ganta, and at this point, Fire Nature Rush is just literally off to the races.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I
and
think now I would take back the Volcanic because
yep,
that can remove the next play, any play that he does, like if there's paralysis.
Right.
then you can volcanic and go for game,
Yeah.
or at least close to it.
Absolutely, and that's the play there. Pala is basically his only saving grace, unless he just has three blockers that he can play this turn, which isn't. It's not possible. The deck plays two Marus, two Lara Giga, so he could have three blockers here, but again, highly unlikely. You're playing the odds, and with the water mana charge, he's definitely not going to have it.
Yeah,
So
he has the snare, and the snare is definitely like the safer play
yeah,
because it removes one attacker for sure next turn.
yeah, I'm hoping that just the momentum of
Mm.
this Ganta that's about to go the distance will be enough, and really just hoping I see poisonous mushroom for these first like four turns, because I have yet to do the sniper mosquito turn one poisonous mushroom on two into a
Yeah,
third thing, so um, really want to get there, but unfortunately it's not going to happen again. Yeah, charging the volcanic arrows just to grab it back.
yeah.
Um,
The rush is really strong here because there's only so much you can do. Like you can, I see a Laura Giga, so you can with the Hydrorican you can play two blockers.
Yeah. So, and that's what he's going to
Yeah,
do. Essentially, try to set up a board to where he can block everything, but Volcanic Arrows doesn't care, and that
yeah,
is the game.
that's game.
Yep. So, Fire Nature Rush taking game one. I think coming into this match, I was worried. This was a scary matchup for Fire Nature. So, I think this was
Yeah,
the
definitely
worst.
is.
Yeah, this was the worst pull it could have gotten. Fire Nature really wanted to see Rebirth win in 16 because Rebirth doesn't really play blockers and doesn't really have a strong early game. So
Yeah, did it
uh,
have Searing Waves as the only really good defense?
yeah,
And even that comes usually late because Rush wins on like turn 4.
right. Especially if Rebirth can't even draw. If it misses its two, I think it's just game over in general. But um, to that point, yeah, Fire Nature Rush taking game one against Hydro Hurricane. So
Yeah, now we see
very
the Hydro
promising.
on the play. It should be really favored for the Hydro. So winning the dice in this matchup is like in every matchup it's very crucial, especially when playing Rush, but in this especially because like having that paralysis one turn earlier is really crucial because you can possibly get two of them out and then you can't really get over any of them with your creatures.
Yeah, Ganta has to trade with Lara Gigas, and that's not necessarily something we want to be doing.
Yeah.
I will say so, and I'll pose this question to you while we're still in between the match here.
Yep.
Going first, do you always choose to go first? I've had this conversation
Yep.
now with a few people in the community. We have yet to find a reason why it's just never right in almost any matchup to not go first.
I think the only matchup where it can be like a question is deck out mirror, but even then it's usually just better to go first
Yeah.
to get to your better stuff like turn earlier.
So Spencer showed his hand at the front of this match. He doesn't have a card in his hand that costs less than five.
Yeah, that's not great. So Braid Claw, that's really risky because like as a after rush play, like if you play Braid Claw and you don't have Volcanic Arrows, especially
Yeah.
against Hydra, like you're just praying like please have bricks in hands.
Yeah.
But
And I think the thought process here was I had the nature one drop, but I had the two nature one drops, and I was hoping to find some combination to be able to put three one drops on the board by turn two.
yeah, and
Um,
you had the Volcanic in hand as an emergency button, so
yeah.
it was fine. Okay, so with the snare, see the snare, so it denies you resources.
Yeah, and it's always tough because like thinking about like what to do and when to do it, right? So turn one there could have put Hardy Captain, Sniper Mosquito, or Deadly Fighter on board. On the draw, putting Sniper on board was bad because my hand was just not did not lean into being able to have a strong two drop. I think I saw my two drop this turn in Pig. Um, so Deadly there felt correct as Hardy Captain. I didn't necessarily want that to come back to hand and lose momentum since my hand wasn't really leaning into the fact that I think I was just going to curve out at Rikaboo. But I'm interested to know what your thought process is there.
I think I think the play was fine. Now we see a really strong play with the
Yeah,
Laura into Spiral Gate, so
Yeah.
Great Claw is gonna need some help,
Yeah, one
and there's
volcanic
already
arrow's down.
yeah gone.
Yeah, I'm fairly positive I held the other. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So, and I go
that's
ahead and
like
just,
if you don't have the volcanic there, I think it's almost over there, at least like close to it.
yeah,
But
and
now we can continue the pressure, and the Hydra needs to answer.
yeah, Spencer's fortunate he found miraculous snare and water mana in the opening two turns there, and then Lyra Giga to follow up on four. But unfortunately, his strongest play here is Locomotiver, and the rest of his hand is
Yeah,
not looking great.
that's
Petrova,
quite strong, but yeah, you're gonna go to zero shields now, so Hydra would really hope to see a trigger there, and no trigger.
yeah,
Uh, there would need to be like the one cost blockers, and I don't think I see them
no,
in
he
the
has.
hand.
Yeah, I think he has a Pal in hand. Otherwise, it's Petrova, some
Yeah.
Mysteriosas, a Terrapin.
Logo
Yeah,
can trade to the Braid Claw, so there would be need to be two
yeah,
removals or blockers or
yeah.
a
Spence
combination of them.
Spencer's pretty dead in the water, and if as you guys can tell just from the match time, I mean it depends on how long X Boom and I talk here in a little bit,
Yeah,
but this one's a short one, guys. Spencer's thinking
yeah.
hard. I don't know if he thinks he's not dead on board, or if he's
I'm
trying to
trying to
find a
see all the
way he's
cards.
not.
Like,
Yeah,
there's a Pala.
two missed Petrova, Terrapit, Hydro, and
Yeah, there's no
Pala.
line.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Terrapit, yeah, deals with it, and so we had this conversation live. That Deadly Fighter just went the distance. So
yeah. I think that was technically a misplay. I think you should trade into the Deadly Fighter because it has to attack. So if if you somehow forgot to attack, the
yeah, yeah.
the Deadly Fighter wouldn't let you forget.
Yeah, and
But
that's pretty on brand for me. So
yeah,
yeah, we'll leave it at that.
yeah,
Yeah, just trying to see when my next top deck speed attacker was because Spencer was trying to figure out if he cleared board, he probably could have dealt with the board for the next couple of turns. Yeah,
yeah. But there was only a Pala in hand, so you could sometimes even with the Rust. So if you run them into the zero shields and they stabilize a bit, if they don't draw the blockers quick, you can just play a couple creatures and they don't like they can't block all of them, and then you just win that way.
yeah,
But that
yeah.
was really quick and what I
Yeah.
like to see.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, for all you Rush players out here, hopefully we got you pretty excited. Definitely not what was expected. I think the way this top eight has shaken out, and again, spoiler cast for X Boom. He'll try not to spoil anything in the
Mm,
comments for you guys in the coming weeks. But yeah, we're recording far after most of our top eight has been recorded. So yeah, a lot of upsets in top eight. Waterfire Rush beating Phantomac, which I think Christian and I talked about it going into it. Really thought Phantomac had at least a really solid chance at winning again, probably in that 60-40 range. Tempo beating Lightwater Fire Rush was a massive upset, but I was stoked about it and glad to be behind it. You know, nothing beats
mm,
a good shield trigger surfer. And then Turbo Burn upsetting our season one champion in Lightwater Dark Nature Mana Burn. Yeah, that's just upset after upset, and here we are, Fire Nature Rush, making it into top four, making our top four this season incredibly aggressive. Coming up next week, Waterfire Rush versus Waterfire Nature Tempo. I'll have X Boom back in the booth, and we will jump into that match, and then we'll be finishing out the semis with Light Fire Nature Turbo Burn versus Fire Nature Rush. What are your predictions, sir?
Hmm. I think like the Waterfire Rush versus the Tempo is like really swingy matchup, like because you have the bounces, so it could like go either way, and it like I predict that Tempo will win it because of the searing waves, but
Solid. Yeah,
yeah,
I think I was going into top four with the thought that Water Fire Nature just did not have good matchup in top eight. Like I really expected it to lose to the Rush. I think for the most part, and again, this is probably just due to uh, improper building, but you know, I think Rush is definitely Tempo's worst matchup in general. Doesn't matter the Rush deck. Got really
yeah, I think
lucky.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
think the Rush is definitely favored in that, but
Yeah.
I believe in the stomp power. So
All right. All right. So we'll be back in the booth next week for that one. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching. X Boom, thanks for joining me today. And
thank you.
until next time, Peach.